Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Gifford, and today we're going to talk about section 7.1, ratios and proportions. And after this lesson, you'll be able to write and solve proportions. So just some few vocabulary terms. The first one is that we have a ratio, and that's just where we take a look at comparing two quantities. And we can either write it using a colon, the word to, or writing it as a fraction. And then we've got extended ratios, which is just when we compare three or more quantities, and typically we use a colon for that. And then once we have ratios, we can set them up as proportions using the equal sign, and then we can use cross products where we multiply on the diagonals, and then we solve for any of the missing unknowns. So let's take a look at some examples. First example, in Logan's High School, there are 190 teachers and 2,650, oops, there's a typo there, students. What is the approximate student to teacher ratio at this school? So we're going to write a proportion that compares the students to the teachers. And we know that we have 2,650 students and 190 teachers. And so what we're going to do here is we want to figure out the approximate student to teacher ratio. And so all I'm going to suggest that we do is take 2,650 and divide it by 190. Okay, and when we do that, that gets us to approximately a 14:1 ratio. And so that means for every 14 students, we have one teacher. So the easiest thing to do is just to simplify it as far as you can. Because it said approximately, I wanted to figure out how many students it was for every one teacher in the building. There's other ways that you can do it, but that's the way that we did it with this one. So example 2, in a triangle, the ratio of the measures of the sides is 3 to 3 to 8, and the perimeter is 392 inches. And we need to find the length of the longest side of the triangle. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just sketch a picture. So I know that I have these sides. It's a bad triangle. Anyway, because my ratio is 3 to 3 to 8, I know that my triangle is isosceles. So 3 times some number and 3 times some number gives me those matching sides. And 8 times some number is going to give me the third side. And because we know the perimeter, we can take each of those values. And we know that to find the perimeter, we just add up the outside information. And from what we can do from here is just combine terms. So this gives us 14x equals 392. And use our algebra, divide by 14 to find out that the value of x is 28. Now, the problem doesn't say tell me the value of x. The problem says find the length of the longest side of the triangle. So now what we're going to do is take this 8x and we're going to substitute 28 in for x and multiply to get 224. And we know that the perimeter was inches, so if we had this actual triangle, we would say that it's 224 inches in length for the longest side. All right, so last example, we're going to use cross products to solve this proportion. Again, cross products just means to multiply on the diagonals. And so in this case, I'm going to do 9 times z minus 1 is equal to 7 times z plus 4. Now, what do you think we need to do here? If you said distribute, you're exactly correct. So we need to do 9 times z, which is 9z, minus 9 times 1 is 9. 7 times z is 7z, and 7 times 4 is 28. And from here now we're going to use again our algebra to figure out the value of z. So I'm just going to subtract 7z from both sides to get 2z minus 9 is equal to 28. I'm going to add 9 to both sides, so 2z is equal to 37. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 2 so I can get z alone. So z in this case is equal to 18.5. So based on the examples, I feel like this particular lesson is quite a bit of review from stuff that you've probably already done in previous years, and even earlier this year. So there you have it, folks, using proportions or using ratios to write proportions and then solving those proportions using cross products.